this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and welcome to video 4 of this Liquidjs Express build. In this video, what we're going to be doing is focusing on getting our index right up. So again, in video 1, we kind of just set up the basic setup. Step 2, we kind of set up the database, seeded some data into our database. And number 3, we kind of set up our server, so our server's kind of set up. Now what we want to do is start setting up our Crud routes for to-dos. Okay, so basically we want a page that can show us all our to-dos. That's the index route. And generally we're going to want to bundle all of our routes for to-dos in a controller. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to head over to controllers and make a new file called todo.js. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to const route, well, we'll just bring in express, const express equals require express. And what we want to do with express is create a router. So const router equals express dot router. And this creates like a new router, which is really just a clump of routes. So the idea is that we're bundling a bunch of routes in this one little object. And then we're going to be able to register that object, which is really a function, because functions are objects in JavaScript too. We're bundling this function with all of its routes as middleware back in server.js once we get it all set up. So, and we also are going to want our to-do model. So const to-do equals require. So that's going to be up a folder slash in models slash to-do. Okay, so again, these are dependencies. So we declare our dependencies, and then we use that to create our router. And now we'll create a section for our routes in this router, and then we will export the router. Module.exports equals router. So let's create one route just to test it out. So we'll just say app. So we'll make our index route. Our index route, which again, the index route ideally should be getting us all the to-dos. Okay, so let's set that up. App.get slash. Okay. And we're going to do rec res. Then I am going to use Mongoose to do .find, and we're going to find all the to-dos. And then I'm going to do a .then and say, hey, we get our to-dos in the callback. And what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm just going to do a res.json on the to-dos just to make sure that we're getting the to-dos in the first place. Okay, so I'm going to run my server now, npm run dev. Okay, I'm just waiting for Mongoose to connect. Oh wait, we never connected the router. Okay, so I need to go to server.js and I need to import the router we just created. So const, we'll say to-do router, and we're going to say equals require dot slash in the controllers folder slash to-do. And there we go. Now I need to connect the router. So it's going to be app. We want to connect that in our routes. So after our home route, we'll do app.use. And then we're going to say for any routes that start with slash to-dos, we want to send those to the to-do router. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is that if any URL starts with slash to-dos, it's going to send it to the to-do router, and then the to-do router will then check to see if there's any routes that match the remainder of the URL. So in that case, well, let me first get the server going. npm run dev. Oh, we got an error here. App is not defined. Oh, this should be router. This should be router because we declared the router right here as a router. Okay. So let's see here, should be, it's still not working. Modules is not defined. This is module.exports. There we go. And now we're good. So we're connected to Mongo, and we're listening on port 4000. Wonderful. So in this case, the URL that starts with to-dos, and see, there's our to-dos. Okay, being provided to us as JSON. So essentially, this would be like an API. Okay, an API just means you use res.json and send over JSON data instead of sending over the data into a template like we will be doing. Okay, nice. So router.get, so that's all good. We know that the route works, and we know it's connected, but notice, see, like this is the URL that we requested. Okay, notice this doesn't say /todos, but the reason is because since this starts with /todos, this gets directed to this router, and then this router then checks everything else going forward, which is just that /, and that does match here. Okay, so that's kind of how the router works. We connect it, we declare the first part of the URL, and then the router handles the remainder of the URL. Cool. So what we want it to do, though, we don't want to render a JSON, we want to render a web page. So we're going to say res.render, and we generally going to call this the name. So in this case, it's todos/index.liquid. That'll be the template file that'll generate our HTML. Okay, and we're going to want to send that template all of our to-dos data. So we'll just send the to-dos inside of an object. So we ship all the to-dos to the template. This is the template, so now we need to create this template. So it's expecting that inside views there's a folder called to-dos, and inside that folder there's a file called index.liquid. So I'm going to create a new folder called to-dos, and then inside that folder I'm going to create a new file called index.liquid. And then here I'm basically going to set up HTML. Okay, now to make life easier, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a file called here just like sample.html. It's not something I'm actually using for any purpose. It's just that like Emmet's not going to work in the Liquid files by default. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use here to get the Emmet boilerplate just to make my life a little bit easier. So I'm just grabbing that, putting that in Liquid. But here's the thing, we don't want to necessarily like put all this in index.liquid. It would make life easier if we use the layout, which means we only have to do this once. So what I'm going to do is here in views, I'm going to create a new file called layout.liquid. Okay, and notice the indentation. So layout is inside of views, index is inside of to-dos. Just keep that in mind. So now layout, I'm going to put just like my basic layout, which just means my basic HTML. Okay, we'll put like a header tag. Let's header. So that'll be for like our navigation bar later. Okay, and then we'll have a footer to represent the bottom of the page. We want to build a footer, and then main. And then here in main, I'm going to build a content block. So I'll say block called content. And then we're going to just say this also, the whole block's just right here in this main tag. So in this case, we do end block. Okay, so this basically what's going to happen is that this is where our different pages will show up. We won't have to worry about all this like other stuff. So we're going to say welcome to, you know, Alex's to-do app. Okay, Alex's to-do app. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a CSS file and a JavaScript file for any of my needs. So I'm going to put those in the public folder. So I'm going to say new file. Okay, styles.css, and a new file, app.js. Okay, that's where I can do any JavaScript. So now let me connect those. So I'll just do the normal. I would say like script tag, and again, Emmet doesn't necessarily work in the Liquid file, so I'm going to use my sample.html to set that up. So I can just take advantage of Emmet and do like script source, and then put my app.js in there with my defer keyword, and then set up my link tag for my CSS. So link CSS, and then link styles.css. Then I will cut these two tags out of here and go put them in that layout file. Then also I'm going to want some jQuery, so that way in case I want to do any kind of fun jQuery type stuff, I'll have that available to me. So I'll grab that from code.jquery.com, and then I will post that above everything else. So those things are just going to be there. Okay, like they are now just going to be on every page because this same layout will be shared among every page. That's what's pretty cool. Okay, and here I can put like an H1 that's like to-do app. Okay, and we can worry about some of the other stuff later. Okay, so this is going to end up wrapping each of our pages. So what happens is now index.liquid, and in all my files, what I'll do is at the top, I'm going to say, hey, use a layout, and the file to use for the layout is layout.liquid. Because again, liquid will always look in this views folder. So when I say layout.liquid, it's going to look for a layout.liquid in the views folder. Okay, so I set up this tag. And then what I can do is I can mark blocks of content that will show up within any content blocks or any blocks I defined. I only created one block. Okay, one block that's called content. That's the only thing I defined. I could define multiple blocks with different names, but to keep things simple, so I'm going to say just like all my content will be inside this block called content. And then again, the block will end right below block, end block. Cool. Okay, so now going forward, anything that's in here will get injected into the layout right here. Okay, so that's going to be really much easier to work with. So now here I just have to worry about what shows up on that like particular page. Right now on that particular page, I just want to kind of loop through the to-dos, which I know I have available to me because we sent, if we go back to the to-do controller, I'm sending those to-dos right here to the liquid file. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a loop. So it's going to be basically for, and then it's going to be for thing in things. That's the way liquid syntax is done. So it's for to-do in to-dos. And then again, we have to put the end of that for loop. So here's where the loop ends, and for, I'm pretty sure it is. Let's just double check. So let me head over to liquidjs.com. Just double check tags for, yeah, and for, good. Okay. So now in this for block, okay, I can define what I want to happen for each to do. So we'll say for each to do, I want a div with the class of to do. Okay. And then in each div, what I want to see is I want to see an H2. And here we'll put the to do dot action, so whatever the current action is, and then below that, actually I want to put it right next to it. We'll say if, so again, notice I'm keeping it inside the H2, and I'm going to use an if block. So it'd be like if to do dot completed equals true, then I want to do something, and then I want to end the if. Now I don't want anything to show up. And if, actually I'm going to do an else block. Okay. And then we'll end the if. So essentially the way this will read is that what will show up here will be whatever I have in here if it's true, and whatever I have in here if it's red. I'm going to use an emoji. So I'm going to use like UTF-8 emojis. And then here's like the full emoji list. So let's see if I can find like that green check mark. Like a red X. I know it's somewhere. Control F, check. Cross. That's somewhere. Say X. Okay. I'll just scroll. eventually we'll find the emoji, because all emojis are unique UTF-8 characters, so we can use them. Just gotta find. I'll just use the wilting flower. So where was that wilting flower? Here we go. So it'll be wilting flower if it is completed. If it's not completed, so that's under the else. And then we'll use a normal rose if it is completed. Okay. So now let me go back over here. And let me refresh this. And you see, like, all our to-dos are incomplete. Okay, they all have wilting flowers. But notice, see, I didn't have to do each one of those individually. It automatically loops through the data and does that for me. Now this looks kind of ugly. Let's make it look prettier. So I can use the CSS, because again, the CSS is connected in our layout file. So I'm able to use this to target the stuff in there. Now I want to make sure that I can target this specific page. So I'm targeting these divs with a class of to-do, and I'll tag the head. I'll target the header to get that H1. So okay, first let's worry about the header. Header H1. I want this to have we'll say text align center, because I want to center the text. What I want here is I want the color of that text to be like navy blue. Okay, and then I want the font family. I'll just use one of these. I will say Cambria. Okay, and then what do I want? Let's just see how it's looking so far. So let me refresh the page. Oh. That's not applying. So that makes me wonder. It's grabbing the styles.css. And I realize what the problem is. See, the problem is, if I go back to my layout, I just put app.js. I need to put slash, because I have to put a relative URL. So then it needs to be slash, and not in there. It needs to be slash in the file name. So slash styles.css. Let's try that again, and now it works. So you see now that's nice and centered. Okay, but that font could be bigger. So let's go back to our styles here. Font size. Let's make that 4 EMs. Should be pretty large. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's fine for now. And then we want all those to-do divs. So to-dos is a class. Okay, we're going to say that each of these divs, I want them to have a width of 60%. And then we're going to center that div, so it would be margin auto. Okay, and then we'll put well, let's just see here. And actually, I do want because like 10 pixels auto. With 60%. Let me just see here. Let's go back to that index. Liquid. So, oh, the div class is called to-do singular. That's why. So we'll say for each of these to-do divs, that's what it should look like. Let's just see if we see the effect. Okay, there we go. Still not quite centered as I'd like. So we'll make that a bit smaller. What we'll do is we'll give it some color. So we'll say color, background color. Okay, let's say something like a bisque. And then we'll give it a border of like 3 pixels dashed. Brown. This might be pretty ugly, but that's not the point. So let's refresh. Okay, and so we can see like those divs get separated. Again, we would like that to be a little bit more distinguishable. So we would like to give that H2, we would like to target that H2. So we're going to say target to do H2, the H2 inside of it. And we're going to give that a width of 20% and give that margin auto and see if that centers those a little bit better. Okay, and see the reason I did it this way, because if I just did a pure like center align, like text center align, it would center the text in the H2, but they won't necessarily be lined up on this side. So by lining the blocks, the text in, and by just making the block small, I can keep the text right aligned or left aligned, but keep them sort of centerish because I'm centering the block. Okay, although we could use some padding in there. So let's put the padding in here. Padding, let's make it like 30 pixels. See how that goes. Yeah, it's looking better. Okay, so that's kind of something. Okay. Cool. So we can see our to-dos, and we hooked up all our. We got our layout set up. Overall, looking pretty good. So that's the index route. I'll see you guys in the next video to do the show route.